Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, James Moffat, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Hello and welcome to another Friday Featured Business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, myself, James Moffat. Today we have our 140th guest, a milestone for us. And our guest is here in her studio, I was going to say in her studio, and her name is 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗘𝗗. Right, if I've got that wrong, then please say your full name. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
An absolute pleasure. So we did have the pleasure actually to meet at a startup event in Lausanne in Switzerland. And yeah, you presented actually there, your startup. So we're going to learn more about your startup as we go through. But before we go there, we take you on a journey from your childhood to where you are now. Mm-hmm. And I ask my guests if they can sing or play an instrument, and if they'd like to do that on the show. You said yes. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to you and just introduce what you're going to do.
All right. Thank you so much. So it's going to last about a minute or two. It's just a song, a traditional song from Mexico that I feel very connected to because my mother is Mexican. I spent a lot of time there. And it's with drumming. So here it goes. He venido aquí buscando flores, he venido aquí buscando cantos, busco quetzales de 1000 colores, busco alegrías y menos llantos. Yana, weine, yo, yana, yana, weine, yo, yana, yana, weine, yo, yana, hey, yana, hey, yana, hey, hey. Como un collar de bellas flores, como el plumaje de los quetzales, como una fruta de 1000 sabores, como el humito de los copales. Yana, weine, yo, ya. Yana, weine, yo, yana, yana, weine, yo, yana, hey, yana, hey, yana, hey. Mi vida yo me había buscado, y en este canto yo me he encontrado. Toda mi vida yo me había buscado, en este fuego yo me he encontrado.
Beautiful. The song is beautiful, and Yeah, it is a great pity that, as I was saying earlier, the sound recording doesn't do it justice, because it comes and goes, although it didn't disappear, so it was good enough to hear the whole thing. So it is a beautiful song.
Thank you. Fantastic. Glad I was able to share it.
Yeah, so yeah, no, it'd be great to share it. So let's just go back to what you said. So your mum is from Mexico. So tell us where you're living now, and where are you originally from, and what is the kind of the Mexican connection, and do you speak Spanish?
Yes. So currently I live in Lausanne, Switzerland. I've been living here for 8 years now. Originally I was born in Montreal, Canada, from one Mexican mother and one Canadian father, French Canadian. So I speak Spanish as my mother tongue. I speak French because I was educated in Montreal, and I speak English, of course.
Wow. You speak English beautifully. So yeah, it must help living in Lausanne, because I mean that is French speaking.
Yeah, exactly. The integration to Switzerland was really easy because I already spoke French. I moved here for my studies, and so yeah, I loved it, and that's why I stayed ever since.
Right. So how long have you been in Switzerland?
8 years.
All right. And you plan to stay in Switzerland?
Yeah, I mean, for the moment, definitely. We never know what's going to happen, right? I think that life always has funny ways of presenting you with new adventures, and I'm someone who likes change a lot. But for the moment and for the foreseeable future, I see myself staying in Switzerland, yes.
Yeah, I know you like adventures, because I typically send a questionnaire out to my guests, and I ask if there's anything memorable they wish to share. And you do have an excellent story when you traveled across Canada. So you like adventure?
Yeah, from an early age, I got used to going on a lot of adventures, partly thanks to my dad as well, who always encouraged me to do that. And yeah, this memorable experience was, I think, the first experience that showed me how overcoming fear with courage could have a very transformative impact. And in this particular case, I was cherry picking in British Columbia, in the west part of Canada, for the summer as a summer job. And when it was time to come back to Montreal at the end of the summer, I didn't want to spend my hard-earned bucks on a flight back, so I decided to go by land. And then I kind of had this vision of myself on the road, you know, like with my thumb out, you know, like waiting to get picked up. And I just felt like I had to do it. And so I did it. I crossed the country, the entire country, in about 5 days. I made it home safe. And yeah, after that experience, I knew that if I wanted to grow personally and professionally, I would have to always overcome my fears with courage, and also being bold and fearless.
I love it. So how old were you at the time?
I was 19 or 20.
Right. And you have siblings?
Yeah, I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me. And I have also a wonderful nephew. He's 9 years old.
Oh, okay. So your sister didn't want to go cherry picking?
No.
No. So how did you get there in the first place? You flew there?
No, I went there by car in a ride share.
All right. And then the journey back, how long is it in kilometers or miles?
In kilometers, it's about 5,000 kilometers.
Wow. Right. And you just decided that you'll walk it and hitch a lift when you can?
Exactly. I had my tent and my backpack, So I knew whenever I needed to sleep at night, I could just pitch my tent. And in Canada, there's a lot of space to do that, and it's relatively safe. So, yeah.
So,
I still told my dad I was doing it. So I was texting him along the way to let him know that I was safe. I didn't tell my mom until I arrived because I know she would get too worried. But yeah, everything happened. Everything went well.
So I'm just curious, because you're not the first guest that's actually done something like this. And I mean, I had a guest that basically made her way back from Turkey to the UK in a similar way. Right? I had another guest that went from Canada and down to Mexico and cycling. And yeah, all sorts of people doing adventurous things. So yeah, I think it's great, because I mean, like, as you said, it's kind of personal development. You can overcome a lot by doing a journey on your own. And yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, because there are some challenges, I guess. When you first like pitched your tent up, and I mean, do you find places, or you just find a suitable place and think, well, I think it's time there? And what about food and stuff? I mean, how did you manage?
I would, like, whenever I would hitch a ride, the person would typically drive for a couple of hours, and sometimes they would stop to get food, so I would get food with them. If they didn't, they just dropped me off, and then before I tried to hitch the next ride, I would try to find some food. I had some snacks with me, but yeah, I think the funny thing is, like, there's always that little moment at the beginning where you're like, oh no, crap, what did I do? And you start regretting a little bit, but you're already deep into it and you can't get out. So you're like, no, okay, now I'm in it, I have to go through. And that's where I feel like that's where the learning happens, like the shift happens inside of you, where you're really confronted to yourself and to the situation, and you have to give it your best.
Yeah. So
positive attitude.
I guess you overcome a lot of things by doing that. Also, you also create something more magical, like the bond with nature.
Yes, absolutely, because you have to surrender to everything. You don't know who's going to pick you up, how that person is going to be, how far they're going to take you. You don't know anything, so you literally have to let go of all control. And the only thing that is there for you is nature, because nature is always there. It's surrounding us, and nature always has the answer. So if, let's say, I wasn't able to get a ride, and it was kind of getting late, getting dark, then I knew I would have to go and find a place to put my tent. And there was always this like feeling of comfort, you know, when I found like a little wooded area, a little forest, or something like that. The trees are kind of, you know, accompanying you. So yeah, definitely develop the bond with nature.
There was no fear of like grizzly bears or anything like that?
No, because I was staying close to the road. Road number 1 is like the main highway that crosses Canada, and yeah, I was staying near the road. So
right. So you had a map or anything, or you just followed the road?
I was just following the road because it's one single road, so I was not really. I don't think I had a map.
But it is a road you can, I mean, not literally walk on the road, but you can walk kind of parallel or within sight of the road, so you know the direction. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Did you pass others on the way doing something similar?
No, I didn't see other. Well, yeah, maybe I saw like 1 or 2 other hitchhikers. Yeah.
But was it, I mean, how did you entertain yourself then? I mean, did you sing? Did you dance? Did you think of certain things? Did you write poetry? Or, I mean, what did you do to spend the time, besides obviously the walking?
Well, To be honest, I never waited more than 30 minutes to have someone stop and pick me up. So I think like most of the way was actually talking with the people who would pick me up, and we would share stories. And I remember this one man who picked me up, and he shared that he had recently lost his daughter, who was about my age, in an accident, and he was like, still grieving that and happy to pick me up to kind of reconnect to that young lady presence. And then I had also like a guy around my age pick me up, who was like working and was telling me about his job. I had couples, ladies, young, older, all kinds of people picking me up.
But you didn't mind. I mean, you were happy to get picked up.
Yeah, because I was trying to get back to Montreal.
All right, it sounds like a great adventure. Anyway, we'll park that for now. But I mean, I guess, was that, I mean, growing up as a kid, I mean, even younger, I mean, you liked the nature, being outside?
Yeah, particularly at the ocean, like the Caribbean Sea, because that's where my family on my mom's side is from. And being a kid, we would always spend our summers there. So I have a very strong connection with the water, but also the other elements: fire, air, earth. My dad would also take us camping a lot, and yeah, it's just where I feel most at home.
Yeah. Do you find that because of that, I mean, the love of nature and everything, you're more of a spiritual person as well?
Yeah, I mean, my spirituality is linked to nature completely. For me, that's where the source of all life comes from, and therefore the source of all being, and where I draw my energy from. So yeah, it's very much linked.
Yes. I'm just going to say, so you've lived in Switzerland now for 8 years. So when did you leave then, Canada?
Oh, I left Canada initially as a teenager because we went to live to Mexico with my mom for several years to take care of my grandpa, who was ill with Alzheimer's there. Then I came back to Canada for studies, for university, and that's where I became aware of all the troubles with nature as well, all the environmental issues that we're still dealing with today. And so I was back in Canada for university, so from like 19 until 24, and then I left for Europe. I lived 2 years in the UK initially, and then I came to Switzerland.
Wow.
So I left Canada around 10 years ago.
Wow. So you went to the UK, so where did you go there? Because I'm from the UK, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. I was living in Bournemouth on the south coast.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
A nice sandy beach.
Yeah, my goal was so after finishing my bachelor's degree, my goal was to gain some work experience and save money to do a master's. And so I thought, like, if I go work in the UK, I will be earning in pounds. Pounds are worth more than dollars, and that's going to help me save up faster for my master's degree.
But you worked there because there's a university in Bournemouth.
Exactly, I was working at the university.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you have some massive golden sandy beaches. I've been there many times, and yeah, it's lovely. So, although in the winter it can be a bit miserable, so
it's very rainy in the winter.
Yeah. So,
but I think that's winter in Europe.
Yeah. So you don't miss Mexico then?
I do. In fact, I go there every year.
So Mexico City or somewhere else?
No, the Caribbean coast. So the south.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a good friend, neighbor, and he's from Mexico City, and he goes every year with the kids and family for Christmas.
Yeah.
But then I also have friends that live in various different places in Mexico.
Yeah, it's a huge country as well. So much diversity there too.
Yeah. Which I mentioned earlier. I'd like to introduce you to someone that lives there. That I think you'll have a lot in common, because she's originally from Brazil, lived in Canada, and now in Mexico.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, it's always great to know like-minded people.
Yeah. So, why in particular Switzerland?
So I had a dream, which was to work for the UN, because of course when I studied my bachelor's degree in Montreal, I did geography and public policy, and then I learned about all the global environmental issues of deforestation, of course, global warming, ecosystem degradation, blah, blah. And I thought, I want to solve those problems, and I want to do it on a global scale. And therefore, I want to go to Geneva because the UN is based there, and I want to work for the UN Environment Program. And so when I started looking for options for a master's degree, I found a great institute, the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies, based in Geneva, right next to the UN. And I was lucky enough to get a scholarship and to basically get into that institute. And so I went to Geneva, and then during that time, it was a 2-year master. During that time, I changed a little bit my focus. I realized that I didn't want to work on sustainability on a global scale, but rather on a local scale, because I realized that it's important to actually have a look at our own selves and not always turn to other countries to solve problems, environmental problems specifically. I think we're very quick to say, yeah, like deforestation is happening on all these African or South American countries. But if we really think about the root cause of what is causing this deforestation massively, it's not the people there. It's from our modes of consumption here in the West and our lifestyles here in the West that are consuming much more resources than they should. And so I shifted my focus, and then I started working on local sustainable development.
No, I love that in the way that, I mean, I did apply to the UN many years ago, but in the peacekeeping, because I wanted to go and stop the conflict or stop wars, but I didn't qualify because I didn't have all the certificates that they needed. But I had the desire and the passion for wanting to stop something that was horrendous, and yeah, I want to bring humanity back. But no, things like that don't qualify you. You have to have the certain certificates or you can't go. So I thought, isn't that just crazy? I mean,
yeah. It's a very bureaucratic system, unfortunately, and I think that removes a lot of the potential of the mission of what they're actually trying to do. So I quickly realized that for my kind of personality and my aspirations, it wouldn't be the right place for me.
No, exactly. And it made me think twice also about kind of these organizations, what they really stand for. And I'd rather do something myself, because then I believe in what I'm doing is true and authentic and to the core for humanity, rather than just a lot of fluffy words. So anyway, I mean, that we could digress on that. So I mean, so just going back, I mean, what you said, particularly when it comes to kind of the global scale or the individual, I mean, we are the consumers. So as a consumer, we have the choice on what we purchase and how we purchase it and where it comes from. Or we could be completely naive and not really care and just go out there to buy things for the sake of buying. Right. So once you start thinking about it and thinking about the effect, now people, you could have lots of discussions in the way that people say, yeah, but it's only a tiny little thing. How can you change the world and change the behavior and everything? But at the end of the day, everything starts with you as the individual. And if you don't change you, then how can you change others? So I want to kind of move into kind of what you're doing, how you decided to do that, and where are you on that journey? So was there a pivotal point that made you decide that, you know, I want to do something for myself now, and this is the reason why?
Yes, well, I mean, I started thinking about the issue of waste when I shifted my focus towards the local environmental issues and how we could contribute to solving them. And that's when I realized, looking at the data and doing my research, that waste is one of the biggest environmental problems here in Switzerland, because it's the second largest generator of waste per capita in Europe. And even though Switzerland doesn't do landfills since over 10 years now, they do export their waste, because they literally have produced more waste than what they can handle in their facilities. So Switzerland actually exports its waste to other countries that do landfill.
Let me just hold you there. Like, kind of, you're blowing my mind now, because I mean, I live in Switzerland, and they're very much into, particularly if you live in communities and stuff, into all the different various bins for the metal, the glass, the plastics, and so on, and paper. And I honestly thought everything was kind of recycled here. I never imagined, particularly when it comes to household general waste, that they didn't have landfills. And no, why would you want to spoil the Swiss landscape? You want to send it to some other country and spoil theirs instead.
Exactly.
Honestly, I didn't know that. So you're enlightening me at the same time. So tell me more.
It's a common misconception, so don't worry, many people think the way, because it is true that Switzerland has a very high recycling rate, but it's a very high recycling rate for glass, aluminium, and two kinds of plastic. PET, which is like the plastic bottles, drinks, but transparent, and the other kind of plastic, which is like the opaque bottles, like for cleaning products and things like that. But all the other plastics, like the little boxes that your fruit come in, the single-use plastics of all kinds of wrappers and things, those don't get recycled. They don't get recycled. They typically get incinerated when they are properly sorted, but you still have like 14,000 tons of plastic waste that just enter the environment every year, because somehow they're diverted from those lines, and they simply fall into the land and eventually into the water. The other thing that also people don't realize is that, yes, there's a high recycling rate in Switzerland, but actually the rate of waste generation is also increasing. So you can have a high recycling rate, but the rate that doesn't get recycled, if that total volume is increasing, well, that's also increasing. You see what I mean? So it is a huge problem, and it's an invisible problem, because this plastic waste breaks down, becomes smaller particles, and we don't see it. But the truth is that the problem has gotten to a point where plastic has entered our food chain, and as a result, we ingest plastic particles of plastic every week with our food, up to 5 grams.
So we're killing ourselves at the same time.
Yeah. I think the latest study that was released by the University of Amsterdam found plastic in blood samples.
Wow.
Microplastic particles in blood, in human blood.
So I just want to digress slightly, because I had a previous guest on the show that actually is a startup from EPFL, Zurich, from ETH in Zurich, and she was talking about creating a biodegradable plastic, and she discovered that by going on holiday and having algae right on her wetsuit, and it dried out in the sun and went transparent. She thought, could that possibly be a plastic? And so there's a whole story about that, so should connect you with her.
Yes.
Right, so anyway, this is scary, but what you also said, and I've noticed, when you come back from a supermarket, although I don't particularly like supermarkets, but that's another story, why is everything wrapped up now in plastic? I mean, you get like a cucumber. Why would you wrap it up in a plastic? Why not just have it on the shelf, and you've got a choice. You can put it in a plastic bag if you want, or just stick that label on with the price on it. So why are there ones already pre-wrapped? What's that for?
I mean, on the one hand, there's this perception that it's more hygienic, that it will protect it from dirt, basically. But then the other reason is because the plastic lobby, big plastic is a thing, there's big oil, big pharma. There's also big plastic. It's very much linked to big oil because, of course, plastic is made from petroleum. And those industries have a very high interest in continuing to sell their plastic. They're continuing the production. There's actually even a prediction about plastic production doubling between now and 2060. So those industries are trying to simply, push their product on the market. So I think it's a combination of that, and also just a cultural norm that became widespread since the 1970s.
Yeah, I just think that it's astonishing now, because as soon as you come back from a supermarket, and as soon as you're putting your stuff away in the fridge or the cupboards, you're just taking off all the plastic. Mm-hmm. And the cardboard boxes. I mean, we put our cereals and things in glass jars so the kids can see what they're going to eat, rather than the pretty picture on the box that when you open the box is only half full anyway. It's just a big box that deceives the consumer, thinking they're getting a bigger box, but when you actually read this, the size, it's actually half of that. And I mean, it's just deception. But anyway, you don't even need the boxes and stuff. And it just reminds me back to the days that I used to go with my mum as a kid shopping. We used to go to kind of the general store, and I used to get things in a brown paper bag if you wanted, or my mum would have her own bags, and then they would fill those up with the groceries and things, and you wouldn't need separate bags to go in a bag. And also when it came to cereals and other things, they were in these big glass containers, and then you could fill up your own pot or container or whatever you took there. All right, it's a bit more work because you have to take yours, but in saying so, you could see it. I mean, you could see where it came from, you could see the quantities that you're actually getting, and there's none of this deception. And I mean, I know they say that, I mean, it's all marketing, that they put fancy pictures on boxes of cereal, and then when they put the ingredients, which nobody tends to read because the print is so small, but if you actually knew what it was, if they did it the other way around, made the image small and the ingredients big, would people actually buy the products? Which probably not. So, but anyway, it's just that we have changed as consumers to be lazy as well. We want everything in a convenient kind of way, and we go to the supermarket and it's all there under one roof. Whereas I look now, particularly when I go shopping, I like the high street. I like the way that you can walk down the high street, you can meet real people, you can pass the time of day with them, and particularly if you spent all day at home. I mean, I work remotely, so I'm at home most of the day. I want to speak with people. I want to go to the baker and speak to them and find out about them, their family, and and stuff, and I can smell the bread in the back. I can ask them about it, and there's many things to pass the time of day. And passing the time of day for some people is actually that interaction with real people. And I find that the way that we're consumers or the supermarkets and are pushing things, it's to get rid of all of that and make everything so automated and AI focused that we're just robotically going in there, getting things and walking out, and you don't have to speak or even acknowledge anybody. And to me, that is not the essence of who we are. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that just digressed a little bit. Let's go back to, so what are you doing, and was there something that was like a really big triggering point that thought, right, I've got to start my own startup, I've just got to do something myself?
Exactly. So it was after becoming aware of all that issue that I said I gotta go zero waste, because I'm sometimes a bit intense in my decisions and actions, and when I became aware of this issue, then I became aware also of the possible solutions. I read the book by the famous zero waste blogger 𝗙𝗘𝗔𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗘𝗗. There's also this blog called Trash is for Tossers. I think the name of the woman running it is Lauren Singer. And I got really inspired by those ladies, and I said, like, I'm going to go zero waste as well. I identified a couple of shops in Lausanne that sold things in bulk without any packaging, and I started doing that. And then I realized how challenging it was, because I was working full-time. I was not working from home, so I had to go to an office, and basically I didn't have, it was taking a lot of time to do my shopping. It was, as you were saying, a full day of going in, weighing your things and doing it. And I thought to myself, there has to be an easier option, because different people have different lifestyles, and some people don't enjoy shopping and they want to do it as conveniently, as quickly as possible, and that's why they do online shopping. And so I thought, why don't we combine this zero waste philosophy with the modern convenience of e-commerce and digital shopping and digital tools. And so I started, thinking about it more, sending some surveys to my friends and to people I knew to find out whether they'd be interested in such a survey. I also did a market study. And then around that time, the pandemic hit, COVID hit, and I really felt that was like a trigger, because initially I was like, okay, I really want to do this, but I also don't want to become an entrepreneur, because starting a business is so risky and you have to put in a lot of work before it starts being profitable, etc. But then COVID hit, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of a huge, like, global disruption, and actually this is like the best time to start something new, because the whole society is anyways disrupted. There's kind of like a void being created, and this is the time to create the systems of tomorrow, the systems of the future. And so that's when I started in 2020.
Excellent. Sometimes you need a trigger point in which to kind of realize your dream, and because like most dreams, they can be written down on a piece of paper and never actually realized, and it's quite sad. And so to actually do something about it, and in a way, this was the trigger point to accelerate that. So where are you now? So you said you looked at some shops and things in Lausanne, and you saw that they were selling in bulk and whatever, and it just gets me thinking, because other previous guests, there was another guest that I met at the startup in Lausanne, and she's also has a startup talking about underwear, cotton underwear, natural, 100%, and you probably met her there, but anyway, it's worth connecting with her because she's kind of a neighbor of where you live, and doing something based on also a lot of research to find out what is really sustainable. And I mean, when I know you're addressing kind of the food and the plastics and stuff like that, but it's also connected to, I mean, she talks more about clothing and the garment and clothing industry in the way that there's so much waste there, and also so many chemicals that are used that if people actually knew what they were putting on their skin, they would think twice about what they actually buy. So I see all of this kind of connected in a way that you could also create an economy and an ecosystem of not just what you consume, but also what you wear and put on your body and on your skin and everything else. And yeah, I've come across as guests, I mean, many that are these kind of entrepreneur, business owner startups that are looking at all sorts of different things. So it's about kind of joining the dots together to make kind of that marketplace for everybody, that they can look and see what is out there, and the visibility of that, which is probably the biggest challenge, is having a great idea and the lack of visibility, that people don't know or aren't aware of what you're actually doing, that could even be in your hometown. So how did you decide that when you start your business that I'm going to do it on my own? Do I need a team of people? Do I need others that feel the same? Or
I knew I needed a team because I like working with people, and that's why when I started having this idea, I started talking about it to people around me. And I was working at the time at the Impact Hub Lausanne, which is a great hub for social innovation and impact entrepreneurship. So of course the like-minded people were already around me. And as I talked about this idea, some people said like, hey, I'm interested. It's really rings really true for me. And that's how I met my co-founders. So we started with a team of 3. And so that way we're able to kind of split the main work areas between logistics and operations, finance and legal, and then community and communications and marketing. And then eventually we also pivoted with the business, because as you do with the startup, you have a lot of unexpected things happen. And now we also have, of course, a co-founder who joined us, and following a merge, and he takes care of the technology side. So now we're a complete team of 4. We even have a 5th person who is helping us with design, and of course we also employ our delivery people and the people who prepare the orders.
okay, so when you said you had a merge, is it a merge with people doing something similar or different things? Or?
Exactly. There was another startup, also local, based in Lausanne, who was doing something very similar to us. We had somehow missed each other in the market research phase, but we eventually found each other and we're like, hey, we're like essentially offering the same service. He was on his own, we were 3, and we realized we had very complementary skills and competencies, but an identical vision. And it made sense to join forces and do things together. So that's also a beautiful story of collaborating for greater impact and not getting stuck in the competitive mindset.
No, exactly. It's better to join forces rather than compete against each other.
Totally.
So now that you have, I mean, did you merge a name and come up with something new, or did you take your name or his name?
So we decided to let go of our respective previous names, and we launched the new brand together last spring, which is NUHA, which stands for New Habits for Earth. So it's NUHA, and our website is NUHA.earth.
Excellent. So, yeah, if it's possible, whilst we're talking, because I can give you access to share the screen. I don't know if you want to share, because you. So tell us what you've got, because I mean I've had a quick look, but just for the viewers, I mean you have a shop front, and you've worked now with local shops and things, and yeah, maybe you talk me through it, and if I'll give you access whilst you're talking, and if you want to share any screens or anything, the website or the products and whatever, then it's nice to visualize something.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So basically, it's an online zero waste supermarket. So it's an online shop where you can log in, find your products that you're looking for, go to the checkout, and have them delivered to your doorstep. And everything is delivered without single-use packaging. So what we use to put our products in are either glass jars or cotton bags, or we also have tins, like tin boxes, and bottles, of course, for liquids. So we have different types of reusable containers for different types of products. And it's a bit like the old milkmen of past generations. The customer basically, once the jars are empty, leaves them outside the door on the delivery day, and then our team, our delivery person, comes by, picks up the empties, leaves the full ones of that week, and then continues. So let me share my screen then, so I can show you a little bit what it looks like.
Yeah, while you're just doing that, I'll just share a quick story. So I know we talked about it, but I mean, I was finding that I like breakfast cereal in the morning, and we typically have glass jars. So we buy our stuff, and then the first thing we do is take out the wrapping and everything, throw it all away, or recycle, and then put it in glass jars so the kids can actually see it, because they like to see, and it's nice because you can see the level in the glass jar better. And so we do that. But also milk, I find I was getting stomach ache with just drinking the milk from the supermarket. Now I didn't know it was actually the milk until I changed, and we have a local bio farm, and they have a machine in there that's refrigerated, and you can buy their bottles with a picture of a cow on, or you can take your own bottles or jars, or however you want to fill up the container with milk, and then you put your money in the machine, and you get, I mean, so it's the same price as the supermarket, but it's fresh. And yeah, I take actually the best jars that I have are the sauce bottles that you would put on your spaghetti bolognese, or you're making a pizza with, because they've got a good strong lid. So once I've washed those, I then take them along and fill them up, and it's wonderful.
I love what you're saying, because it's really about reconnecting to what you're consuming and what you're putting into your body. For me, I really avoid as much as possible all the super transformed and processed foods, because they simply don't have all the nutrients that nature gives us through raw, unprocessed foods.
Yeah.
So for us, I mean, our mission is really to be able to provide all these products that are majority local, without packaging and without the processed behind it. So
So just before you scroll down there, just to conclude that story, so I don't get stomach ache anymore. The milk tastes wonderful. The kids love it, and if you take them as well, it's like an adventure to go to the farm. So they go to the farm. I even send them now with the bottles, and they do it themselves. But you see the cows in the field. You see the grass they're eating. You see that. Yeah, it's all perfectly beautiful and natural, and when you taste the milk, you know exactly where it's come from, and nothing added, nothing taken away, just pure. And that's what I want in everything. I want to know, not hidden and disguised and added and synthetics and all the rubbish. So anyway, this is your website. So
yeah. So yeah, you totally you should be a customer, because you're totally aligned with what we offer here. So basically we have the different sections. It's in French because for now we're active in the French part of Switzerland. And so we have here everything that concerns the food. So we have all these different categories. Spices, flours, cheeses, nuts and dried fruits, legumes and grains, pasta. We have everything. Then we have also, let me show you what it looks like. Here we have the milk.
Love it.
Milk from the farm as well. We have the fresh fruit and vegetable baskets, also from local farmers. But then we also have a section for cleaning products. So again, that's an area where you can really make a difference in your home by avoiding all the nasty chemicals that are in the, let's say, conventional or commercial cleaning products. You can actually use natural ingredients like vinegar and soap. Mm-hmm. Your house. We also have a section here which is all about personal care. So we have solid shampoo, solid soap. For people who are not so much into solid but still want to try something, an alternative that's zero waste, we have these amazing liquid soaps and liquid shampoos. I think they're in the last page.
And this is all the products are from the Lausanne region.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. This is, for instance, a shampoo that you create by mixing this little powder to water, because most of the volume of a shampoo bottle is actually just water, and of course that gets transported from the other side of the world where it gets manufactured all the way to our homes, when actually most of it is water, and we can get water from our tap. So this is really a more smart solution if you like liquid shampoo or gel, but also at the same time reduce waste by like 90%. Then we also have some accessories where we sell like bottles and kits and bags and things like that. And the last part, which I'm really proud of, is an online mini course. So it's plastic free in a few weeks, and there's basically 4 steps, and in each step there's like 4 little videos, and it's really short. It's like 1 to 3 minute videos where I teach you step by step how to detox from plastic, basically. And
when you say plastic detox, you mean your body?
Well, your kitchen, and eventually your...
Oh, okay. It'd be nice to plastic detox from your body.
Yeah, that I haven't found out yet how to do. So there's even this little free course with the little videos to show you how to do it, and how to make an impact and make a difference. So yeah, I hope.
Excellent. I mean, I love it. Now, I love what you do, but it also gets me thinking again from other previous guests. I've had a lot of kind of startups and business owners that are doing things around sustainability, circular economy, and environment, humanity, and everything else, natural products. So I do have a good friend in Zurich, and she does a lot of beauty products and wellness products, but all natural, 100% natural. And she has a kind of shop front as well. So I was just wondering, this is kind of trying to connect some dots together. If someone's already got things like that, could you connect to their site, or do they share the images and then you do it on your site?
Yeah.
maybe explain a bit more about your model, because I'm sure there's lots of people out there that would welcome being part of this. It doesn't mean they have to stop what they're doing, but it's another way to help sell their products.
Completely, yeah. And let me show you, because we do have a section for that. I didn't show it, but I mean, our goal is to really create a local, sustainable food system, and so that means we like to find, local people who are making local products. And so we have here at the bottom our partners. Where are they? Here. So these are all the partners and vendors that we sell products from. And every week I have people contacting me, asking me if we can sell their products. And indeed, it's something that we do. So all they have to do is contact us. We ask them for the pictures of their product, the price list, and then we basically put it on the site. And then we are able to sell their products on our site. And typically they're quite happy to do that as well. So actually I need to, this is something I have on my to-do list, but I need to create a form to streamline this process, because right now it's still happening like by email exchange. But my goal is to have here kind of like a button that says like, hey, want to sell your products on our platform, click here, and then have a form that collects all their information in a more efficient way.
Okay, so you mentioned that because it's in French and that you're in Lausanne. So what region do you cover?
Currently, we cover the 𝗙𝗘𝗗𝗏 region, which is from Geneva all the way to Montreux, kind of like that strip of land around the lake on the north side.
Right, and the plan, because I mean, as I mentioned, I mean, the people that I know aren't necessarily in Lausanne. I mean, the one I just mentioned is in Zurich. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, her products would be perfect also for the site, but she's in Zurich. So, how would that work?
There's two options. Either we could have her products shipped to Lausanne with the post. But of course, that is a little bit contradictory with our zero carbon emissions model, because all our deliveries are made by electric vehicle. Or she could wait and bear with us a little bit until we open in Zurich, because we do have a vision of replicating our model in other Swiss cities through a franchise model. But we're working step by step, and we're not quite there yet, but we will be.
Right. I mean, Switzerland in itself is a big enough market. I mean, when you look at all the different regions, but you would have to then do it in Italian, in German, French, and I think English by default, so anyone else that could actually participate. Although there are good Google Translates, I mean, on websites. So I could look at your website and it will be automatically translated anyway. So not so much of a problem. But I mean, I love what you're doing. So so where are you now with that? So you've merged, you've got the company name, you've got a website, you've got shop front, and people can buy. So where are you on your journey, and where do you see yourself going in the next year or so?
Yeah, I think that right now we're at the proof of concept stage of the journey, in the sense that we have a model, it works, we cover the costs, it's still very small scale. We need to grow in order to be sustainable on the long run and to have a real impact. We need to grow, and for that we need to invest in marketing and think about how to scale. And given our model that is also based on zero carbon emissions, deliveries by electric vehicle, it means we have to to scale, we have to basically replicate the same model and recreate in a different city the same little ecosystem. It's a circular ecosystem. So our vision coming up, I think for next year, is to really work on that franchise model and start looking for some people interested in replicating it. We would basically give them the whole plug and play, the whole documentation that explains exactly how to implement it, and they would implement it in other cities. I think the merge that happened this year took a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it meant kind of, having to pause other things like the marketing and all of that to focus just on the integration of two businesses into one on all levels, legally, administratively, operationally, in communications. It was quite a heavy and lengthy process, but thankfully it succeeded, even though there were many risks along the way. And now for the remaining of 2023, we're focusing on the marketing to increase sales. And then starting 2024, we're going to focus on the scaling.
Okay. So at the moment, are you profitable as a company, or you're using your own investment, or how's that working?
We are covering the costs, the fixed costs. However, we are not generating salaries for the co-founders. So we are obviously paying our employees, but we're not generating enough revenue to have a proper, like a regular salary for us as founders. But we're not losing any money. We're covering all the costs, and yeah, we're kind of at that tricky stage where we need to manage our growth very carefully and have a strong strategy.
Okay, but you want to be kind of self-sufficient in the way that organically grow, rather than going to get bank loans and things like that.
No, we are actually looking for funding. We are preparing some funding applications, mostly for grants. There's a lot of impact funds or foundations that are supporting this kind of impact entrepreneurship, that are solving specific environmental challenges. So we are looking for big sums of money that will help us do this in a quicker way. Because the reason is that it's actually a trend. Like zero waste shopping is a trend globally, and things are moving fast. And it could easily happen that like a big player, actually decides to take this idea and to implement it themselves, in a much quicker and more industrial scale way. But we believe that in order to have more impact, we need to grow fast and possibly even to collaborate with those bigger players. But first, show that we have a profitable model. To grow.
Yeah, as I said, I love what you're doing, but you have to also look about the vision that you had and the reasons for why you are doing it. And you talk about the bigger players. You want a bigger player that shares the same vision. You don't want a bigger player that is thinking about profit, right? Because although we need money, that's the objective, isn't that? It's about a sustainable lifestyle and changing the way that we consume goods, and also going back to nature and getting natural products, and all the ones that you listed there, like natural things. You run the fear if you have an exit strategy and some big company like Amazon was to acquire you, then they'll just park you up somewhere and dismiss it and carry on selling their stuff.
Exactly. So yeah, but I think that the system is changing. Like even the bigger players are now realizing that they also have to take part in this ecological transition of our economy, and whether they like it or not, they will have to do it because the customers will also start demanding that. So I think it's not all black or white. I think there may even will be needed to make some concessions, but obviously the goal is not to just exit as fast as possible. And like we really have a mission, and circular economy is part of our DNA, and that's what we want to help accelerate.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, you can't be the only one that's doing this. So, I mean, even within Switzerland, I guess within the Zurich area, there must be other companies that startups are doing something similar. So what about, all right, you don't want to necessarily keep merging again, but collaboration, right? It's not about competing with them. It's about like what goods and products do they have that would benefit your clients in your region and vice versa.
Exactly.
So rather than necessarily setting up something else yourself, leveraging on someone that's already there doing it, and leveraging on what they've already accomplished in the way that they found clients and kind of a supply chain already, and leveraging on them.
Totally. In fact, that was what we wanted to do initially with the local shops here in Lausanne. We didn't want to be a shop ourselves. We just wanted to be a platform that gives visibility to all those shops and arranges the delivery for all those shops, so they could have an additional customer segment, the digital shoppers. With the merge and with the experience of the last 2 years, we realized that was not a viable model. Firstly, because each one of these shops operated in a different way. They weren't necessarily so comfortable with the digital space, and many of them actually closed. Unfortunately, they went out of business in the last year or two post-COVID. So we couldn't continue under that model anymore, and that's why we changed to having our own, sales. But that doesn't exclude us from, of course, selling the products of all these people around that are working with local ingredients and natural processes.
No, I think it's a good model in the way that you're kind of the storefront, because all the different stores are probably in different locations around the city, and like as a consumer, I'm not going to walk around like spend all day trying to find them and hunting around, although if they're quite local to where I live, then maybe it's not so bad, but it's easier if there's a storefront and then I go there and I can select all the things I want. So if I did that just logistically wise, so if I went online as a consumer and I looked at all the things that I want, and what is kind of the turnaround time by the time that you get them, package them up and deliver them?
Well, we currently have 3 delivery days per week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which means that the longest turnaround would be like 2 days. But typically most people are on most deliveries are on a Thursday. So like our customers kind of got used to this weekly rhythm where they order by Sunday evening and then on Thursday they have their products.
Excellent. And how's business at the moment?
It's good. We're having around, I would say, between 15 and 20 orders per week. So that's kind of, we, as I said, we're covering our costs. We reached our break-even point. Because of the merge, we had to pause the marketing for quite some time. So of course that had an impact. But now that we're ready to start working on the marketing again, I think we're going to have an increase in the volume of orders. And hopefully I would like to maybe like triple this amount of orders per week and have around 50 to 60 orders per week, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fantastic, and I love what you're doing. And also, you mentioned earlier about plastics and plastic waste, and so I mean, what you do, I mean, you try as best as possible to protect. You mentioned about the containers that people can put things in, like the glass jars, the tin boxes, and whatever. So that would be something that you would promote as well. I mean, say someone just wanted to purchase those, they could buy those from you to do their shopping, like in maybe other stores that they find where they live.
Yeah, we sell those in our accessories. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, it sounds great, and I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
I think it's got huge potential, and I think there's lots more people globally that are thinking the same way about more of the sustainable kind of lifestyle, and also getting things that are more natural.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about the convenience of buying things, it's about looking at what you're buying and what harm or good is it doing to your body. Now, whether it's on the outside or the inside. But I mean, you can add to that. I mean, like with clothing products as well that are natural. And then there's the beauty section and everything else, the well-being, and then all sorts of things. So it can only be something that can grow. And if there's a one place that you can go and you can see all of these and it's all natural, then you're going to encourage people to at least take a look. And it might not be everything that they want to get there, but at least they could try out a few things. And it doesn't mean give up your regular shopping overnight. It means looking at other things that you can purchase that could be a path towards where they're going. And
Exactly.
I mean, there's lots of... No, carry on.
Sorry, I was just going to say that speaks a lot to the false dichotomy between individual action and large-scale impact. So I was actually measuring our impact and trying to put some numbers on it. We've avoided around 1 ton of plastic waste being generated and 5.6 tons of CO2 emissions, both through the materiality, so through the packaging, but also through the transport. And I was thinking, I mean, like 1 ton of plastic waste sounds great, but it's really nothing in comparison to the amount of plastic waste that is worldwide, and it's a global problem. But then I was like, wait a second, but it's not about that. As you were saying just now, it's about how you feel individually and what you're putting into your body, and whether your purchasing habits are reflecting your values. I don't think there's anyone here that says I hate nature and I want to destroy it and I want to degrade it. Yet they haven't made that connection yet with their purchasing habits and what they're consuming. So I think that what our service allows people to do is to reconnect to nature through their consumption habits. And maybe it's not going to solve the global problem of plastic pollution, but it's going to help them feel better, and little by little they will also influence people around them, and in that way, in the long run, it can make a change on the collective level. So that's where I stand on that.
I was just thinking, I'm just thinking aloud because we need to wrap this up in a minute, but I was just thinking aloud that there's probably a ton of businesses that don't necessarily want you to act as their shop front, but they would want more awareness of what they do, right? So there could also be a model there as well, because, or maybe they're not in your catchment area, that they're just outside of it, but they have something that would... I'm just thinking again of other previous guests that live on the other side of Lake Geneva, right? I mean, all these people you should connect with because they're wonderful. But I mean, the reason why a lot of them have actually created a business is because they have their own vision of a better world that we live in, that's more natural. And if you can buy things, I mean, maybe you can't sell their products because they're not in the area that you want, but you could nevertheless promote them, and vice versa. So a model could also be about marketing each other. And once you start growing kind of that ecosystem and that awareness, it's also about education. I mean, if you educate people on the use of things, what happens? I mean, at the beginning you talked about the waste in Switzerland, and it's kind of shipped away to another country to be buried or whatever they do with it. I mean, that's kind of scary. So it is also a part of an education. Once you educate people into that, also, how much plastic do you use in a month, or goods that you buy in plastic, just like for a month, put them in different containers or bags or whatever, and just see, and then you'll shock yourself into thinking you need to change. So there's many things that you can do. It's not just about selling some nice organic products. I mean, that's all nice and dandy. It's about kind of the conscious thought behind it, and what you're actually doing. I mean, by buying that one different product a month makes you feel better, right?
Exactly.
And maybe next month it'll be 2, and then 3, and then before you know it, half of my shopping is actually really organic and natural.
It's all about the well-being. Like, many people say, like, yeah, but I can't afford to take care of the environment because my family or my kids, or have other priorities. But actually, this is even more about your own health and your own well-being than about the environment. And that's the link that I hope to be able to help people to make, that actually by taking care of yourself, automatically you're taking care of the environment, because we are an extension of nature. We come from nature. So it's really important, to start with oneself, and that's the biggest difference you can make, and that you will feel it also in the well-being.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that there's probably lots of producers that have to also think about the way that they sell things, because, as an example, there's an interesting post that I read on LinkedIn where there's a young son of a farmer in the Netherlands, and he said his dad sells apples and fruits and whatever to the big supermarket chains, right? Because he's selling in bulk, right? He gets peanuts. He was saying he got 38 cents for a kilo of apples, yet the supermarket sells them at like $2.79, right? So he's the producer, and he nurtures them, he grows them, he looks after them, he packages them up, and he sends them, right? But he gets 38 cents. Now, but there has to be a model in the way that, as a consumer, I would buy from the farm like at €2, not the $2.79 that I'd get from the supermarket. Now he's going to make more because he's getting €2 rather than 38 cents, but they don't tend to do that. They then send them more expensive that I'm going to go to the supermarket. And it has to be an economy of scale as well, in the way that if you can attract enough people to buy, like I'm just thinking about, say I wanted to buy some soap or something off your site, and maybe if I was to buy a year's, I like the product, I love it, and I'm buying one every month. If I was to buy a year's supply of soap, what discounts would I get and make it more cost effective to buy in bulk, which doesn't just help me, it also helps the producer.
Exactly, and we do that. Actually, we have a feature on our eShop that allows you to have a recurrent customized basket. It doesn't have to be customized. We have already some options, but you can also customize it if you want, where if you know that you're going to consume, let's say, bread, milk, and butter every week for like the next year, you can prepay it for the next 12 months. And then we know we make that link with the producer, and then you get a discount and you don't have to think about it anymore. And it just automatically comes to your house every week.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because I know we can digress and talk about this all day, but it's about creating kind of a loyalty.
Yeah.
Now, if I keep going to the farm like I do, it depends on how many bottles I take at that time, and who's over drinking coffee, or how much cereal the kids drink and eat, and how much milk we use. But I mean, they know that I'm going there all the time, but I get nothing, no discount at all. I just pay the same every time I go. But over the year, I'm a loyal customer, but I get nothing for that, right? So it's about also looking at your partners and working with them on, could we create something that's a loyalty that gives the consumer some value, some extra value. I mean, they've got value enough in the product, but I mean, if they're constantly buying it, kind of, you want to, there's an old saying, you can have a one-time client or a lifetime client, right? I want a lifetime client, but how do I keep them as a lifetime client? It's not just about providing a good service, it's about looking at why they would want to keep buying from me. Because say the farm next door decides that every 10 bottles you get the 11th one free. Now I think, well, hang on a minute, it's exactly the same price, but now every 11th one I'm going to get one free. I'm going to try that out. So I could quickly change to another one overnight, and they've lost a loyal customer. So you've got to think about, constantly thinking about, if it's the consumer and customer that are buying the things, how can we keep them for a long time? Anyway, we need to kind of wrap it up now, but yeah, I absolutely love what you do. I love the background and what you've created. I wish you great success. So before you go, right, are there any kind of things that you want to leave us with? I mean, a quote, an idea, or something. And also then we'll talk about how people can contact you.
Yeah, I want to say join the refill revolution. And everybody can make a difference by ditching single-use plastic and contribute to solving the serious environmental challenge of plastic pollution. And everyone can do their part, just one packaging at a time. So why not do it?
Yeah, excellent. And what's the best way to connect with you?
By email. You can just write to 𝗙𝗘𝗏@NUHA.earth, and I'll be happy to connect with you and respond.
Okay, so I'll put those in the show notes. So I'll put the connections, the website, and everything else. There'll be your bio in there, so if people want to learn a bit more about you. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely been an eye-opener. So, I mean, I do these shows for three things: to inspire people, so definitely that; to educate them, you've done that; and most of all, to bring hope to others. So, definitely done that as well. So, thank you very much, Erica, for being a fantastic guest.
Thank you so much for hosting me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right, so there's nothing to worry about. I know you were a bit nervous at the beginning, but nothing to worry about.
All good.
All right, so I wish you a fantastic weekend, and yeah, I just edit kind of this and put it onto YouTube, Spotify for the audio, and it's automatically copied to Rumble as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, James.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Wow, that was another featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Mofat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call now.